Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to Formula 1 news, and day one of testing here in Bahrain is over and the new Mercedes car is the talk of the town. Christian Horner supposedly saying he believes this new car is not legal, then Red Bull backtrack. So much to talk about today. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you were new as always. Thanks all for the support on the Magnussen video yesterday as well. Beautiful shot of the Aston here in Bahrain in the golden sun. This also before the day kicked off, of course. This is kind of when people started to talk about the Mercedes because it came out for the kind of media stuff that they have to do, all the players walking out the track. Danny Rick unfortunately wasn't in attendance here. I believe he's done well at the moment, so he was not standing next to Lando unfortunately, but yeah, quite a cool shot regardless as we go into the season. Let's dive straight into this new Mercedes stuff then. So as Formula 1 point out today, these are the three kind of top runners from last season, the Mercedes up top, and that the side pod designs really have been the big talk of well, when the cars were first getting revealed, right? Exactly what Ferrari are up to, like at last time out in Barcelona, the kind of way the Red Bull side pod is shaped definitely raised a lot of eyebrows, and I was somewhat surprised about what kind of traditional and conservative Mercedes looked at the Barcelona practice. Obviously, they were hiding the new upgrades that they're coming in with, because I mean, these are obviously quite substantial. This was kind of the first shot that started to come out here when the media day, like they were rolling out the Mercedes, and people were like, okay, hang on a second, because there were rumors, right, we talked about them a couple of days ago, that this new Mercedes, they were basically going to eliminate the side pod somehow, and apparently this car was a second quicker in the simulator. Of course, it didn't really turn that way on track today, and it may well take them a fair bit of time to actually get it to that point. Whether it remains legal as well is another question mark that I'm sure their competitors might well be raising, but of course it takes like an 80% majority, or if you like 80% of the teams say to the FIA and F1 authorities that like they want to make a change to the rulebook, they can do that. But of course Mercedes have their own team and they also are the engine supplier for Aston Martin and Williams, so it's, you know, it's going to be difficult to imagine an 80% majority gets through in this case. If the FIA decides that it's actually okay, as it seems so far they have done, because well, obviously the spirit of the regulations is something we will discuss here in a couple of seconds, but this is kind of the comparison. This really is the money shot, right, comparing the car that was on display in Barcelona compared to the current one here in Bahrain. Quite a remarkable difference. Really haven't seen anything like this before. The intake on the right hand side here, of course on both sides of the car, is drastically different. The side pod is basically as small as they can possibly make it. In the regulation you need something here, like you need some sort of inlet obviously, and you know, for engine cooling and stuff like this, but of course usually this is pretty important for cooling the engine. Now it seems like the Mercedes car and the new car has raised up a lot of where the cooling is up much higher in the car, and look, if this actually works, it's a marvel of engineering, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mercedes have got away with it, because at the end of the day, like what did Hamilton say a couple of weeks ago when people were saying, oh, this new Mercedes, like there was some questions going around, like that the Ferrari was going to be quicker, and maybe it still will be, who knows, but Hamilton said, like, my team do not make mistakes, so well, look, we'll see if this ends up being a mistake, right, because either it could backfire on them, or this is going to be massively beneficial, and of course, if this does get ruled illegal or whatever, it's somewhat more easy for them to just, I guess, strap a bigger side pod back on, as opposed to other teams being able to slim theirs down to this design, which may well be the future. Maybe it looks somewhat uglier than some of the other cars, the likes of the Ferrari, but honestly, I think it kind of looks like a fighter jet. So I don't really think anyone was expecting them to be able to pull something like this off. There are some other shots right here where from this angle you can barely see it at all on the left-hand side compared to it was looking like before. Of course, the major advantage here is like just the aerodynamics in general, but also like, you know, Formula 1 cars are a trade-off between performance in a straight line and drag and well, downforce in the corners, and if you can manage to maintain the downforce of the vehicle by actually, well, while still reducing the drag, then all of a sudden you've got a car that theoretically should be a fair bit quicker, as apparently this is in the simulations. Whether that translates into reality, a big question right now, and of course whether it's going to get allowed, another question as well. Also a few other changes that were noticed here by Albert. On the ground here, these kind of vortex generators have been changed up to quite some degree, so a lot of upgrades, a lot of changes with this new car, but of course, well, the big talk of the town is the side pods, right, and I thought there was some phenomenal images coming out of this one, especially this one. The next one here in a second is quite phenomenal as well. Just kind of the Red Bull guys looking over at this new car thinking, oh my god, what have we got ourselves into? Are we in for another few years of a difficult time trying to beat Mercedes? Which maybe is the case. Who knows how all this will work out? Only day one of testing here, but yeah, I'm sure a lot of teams are looking at this thinking, wow, this is it's quite incredible if they manage to pull this off. Like that's the thing. In Formula 1, we want to see the innovation. That's kind of the point, right? That this is kind of the groundbreaking stuff that you get to see, and it is amazing to see teams still finding a way through all the regulations that they have right now, like well, finding new ways to create stuff in that's going to give them some sort of advantage. Mercedes always seem to be on top of it, to be honest. It is quite remarkable the team they have behind them. This also is just a great one really from Perez. I mean, look at this look between Verstappen and Perez here, looking at this car. Like they don't look particularly satisfied with what they're seeing, at least from their perspective. But look, how this will turn out in reality, it's well, it's very early doors. This also just from the race that pointed out, just kind of to show the entire car. On the left hand side, the Barcelona car, here's the Bahrain car. So you can see on the right hand side, things are very different. They also changed the front wing to some degree. If Mercedes have indeed pulled this off, it is going to be a marvel of engineering, no doubt. But of course, the question is it going to remain to be that way? Are the teams going to let them get away with this. And, they can't keep getting away with this, as some people might indeed say. Ross Brawn from the F1 side says we did not anticipate this Mercedes concept, but also pointed out in an interview on Sky Sports that, there's no doubt the Mercedes concept we did not anticipate. It's a very extreme interpretation of the regulations. There's other ways they could have done this in terms of the Sidepods. This is pretty much as extreme as they could possibly go. The innovations in F1 are always extreme. It's largely about, does it affect the objective of the regulations? The teams want to be sure that no team has taken an interpretation which they feel is correct. I'm sure there'll be a lot of debate on it. He basically said he doesn't really see that this would inhibit the spirit of the regulations, but I'm sure other teams may well feel differently over time. If they can come up with a compelling reason to the FIA why these shouldn't be allowed, and Mercedes have said that basically the Sidepods are the same, at least the internal components are the same, just rearranged in a slightly different way, and a much thinner design, which doesn't really seem to be affecting the airflow to the point where it would kind of go against the spirit of what these regulations were trying to do. So, complicated issue, no doubt. But of course, look, as soon as I saw this news this morning, in the pictures of the Mercedes, I was like, okay, Christian Horner's going to be on this, right? As indeed he was. Now, he had a few words to say to Auto, Motor and Sport, a German outfit, which then Red Bull kind of detracted those statements later in the day. So it was quite an interesting situation. Now, Red Bull went on to say Christian Horner has not given any interviews regarding Mercedes' car. Any quotes being attributed to him this morning are incorrect. They then went on to change their statements, because this was the initial thing that was posted here on the website. This morning, 7:28, we bump into Christian Horner. The first trouble is already threatening, of course, translated from German. The new Mercedes violates the spirit of the regulations. For us, some parts are not legal. That is what he was quoted as saying this morning. Most people seem to agree this is indeed what he said this morning, but still, there was certainly some conflicting reports on the matter, as well, talking to journalist Michael Schmidt, and he went on to say, yes, he did speak to me for quite a long period of time. Seemingly, Horner went on to say the new shaped crash structure is a step too far. That does not correspond to the spirit of the regulations. For us, these wings are illegal. So something along those lines that was said. Now, Red Bull went on to say, okay, they initially said that any quotes being attributed to him are incorrect. They then went on to say that they kind of shifted their position to some degree. So we are clear, we have made no official comment regarding Mercedes' car and will not be doing so. So, the kind of idea of they're now saying no official comments kind of implies that Horner maybe did say this, thought it was off the record, or changed his mind or something, I don't really know. And has kind of backtracked to some degree, doesn't want to say this quite as of yet. But still, obviously, it's not going away, right? The topic is still here, and it just kind of underlines the point that probably Red Bull and some of the other teams are looking at this thinking, wow, this is if this works, this is going to put us in a very difficult time this season. Andreas from Auto, Motor and Sport actually does say, Horner did speak with us today in the paddock, you can trust us. Red Bull are lying about this, basically. We did speak to him, this is what he said. So, kind of trust them on this one, to be honest, especially the way that Red Bull kind of altered their statement over time, and this is pretty much what everyone was saying on the matter. So, interesting stuff. Is this going to be allowed? I don't know. Red Bull, of course, detracted their statement initially. They're probably going to try and find ways that they can argue this is illegal, but whether they manage to do that, who knows? Because the FIA so far doesn't seem to think so, and I imagine Mercedes are pretty confident they've managed to fit this one in. Whether the simulated performance is replicated in reality, though, we might not know that until qualifying in Bahrain in a week or so's time. A very interesting situation. Horner went on to say later in the day, kind of did an interview on Sky Sports after that. Just watching his body language, it felt like he'd kind of said the things that he was supposed to be saying earlier in the day, or was accused of saying, and then he said, I've barely even seen the car. It's a different concept. That's for the aero guys and engineers to get into this type of stuff. Let the guys understand it and digest it, and maybe then he'll come out with kind of a more official comment. Maybe he feels he was a little bit rash this morning in what he said, but who knows what happens. Let's talk about the end of the session real quick. There was a bit of a battle going on actually between Stroll and Alonso here on the track. Alonso seemingly playing some mind games, but not race weekend just yet. Good to see these cars going at it though, especially in the night time. The session ended somewhat prematurely, 15 minutes early, because Sergio Perez kind of had a bit of a spin at turn 8, and then he thought, okay, I'll just reverse it off the track and then start up again. Ended up going into the gravel pit, couldn't get it going again, and that was the end of the session. And these then are the final times of the opening day of testing in Bahrain. So of course, not all that much you could read into this, right? Just as last weekend's, what are you going to say after day one? Who knows what fuel loads these cars are on? Imagine a lot of these teams, for example, Mercedes, probably weren't really pushing that hard for laps today, just trying to get a lot of laps in, because there's so much to understand, I'm sure, with their new design of the car, that they're basically back to square one as they were last week, I suppose. A team like Ferrari, they can take a lot of the data they got from last week and bring it into this weekend with pretty much the same car, whereas Mercedes basically have to start from scratch. So interesting to see the times regardless. Gasly, the top of the timing sheets, actually half a second up on the rest of the field. Difficult day also for Alpine in terms of laps done. Mercedes kind of split it between Russell and Hamilton. Perez did pretty much all the laps for Red Bull today, but yeah, Alonso had a pretty difficult time, only 24. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button. Told you YouTube gods, this is a good video. I just like you should see it as well, and I've grown the channel as quickly as possible. Thanks for watching as always. Take care, and I'll see you next time.